the one who bows and the one who is bowed to, are both by nature empty. Therefore the communication between them is inexpressibly perfect. Our practice centers is the net of Indra, reflecting all Buddhas everywhere. And with my person in front of each Buddha, I go with my whole life for refuge. Offering light in the 10 directions, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, to whom we bow in gratitude. Teaching and living the way of awareness in the very midst of suffering and confusion. Shakyamuni Buddha, the fully enlightened one, to whom we bow in gratitude. Showing the way fearlessly and compassionately, the streams of all our ancestral teachers, to whom we bow in gratitude.
So, dear respected Thầy, the respected Venerable, the Sangha, so we will start by start the fifth drum and bell, and we will chant the opening verse on the top of the green page, the sheet of paper that you have. And after that, we'll chant the insight that brings us to the other shore, or in English. And after that, we will do Sangha Karma procedure. and recite the 14 mindfulness training in English. Thank you.
Suddenly discover that all of the five skandhas are equally empty. This realization he overcame all ill being. Listen, Shariputra, this body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is this body. This body is not other. Emptiness and emptiness is not other than this body. The same is true of feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, phenomena bear the mark of emptiness, the true nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, firement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing. That is why in emptiness, body, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are not separate self-entity. The 18 realms of phenomena, which are the 6 sense organs and 6 consciousnesses, are also not separate independent, the rising and the extinction are also not separate self-entities. You being the causes of you being, the end of you being, the path, insight and attainment, also not separate self-entities. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. For these advanced who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore, see no more obstacles in their mind, and because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy all wrong perceptions, realize perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present and future, by practicing the insight that brings us to the other shore, are all capable of attaining authentic and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Shariputra, it should be known that the insight that brings us to the other shore is a great mantra, illuminating mantra, the highest mantra, mantra beyond compare, the true wisdom that has the power to put an end to all kinds of suffering. Therefore, let us proclaim a mantra to praise the insight that brings us to the other shore. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva.
Sangha Godman procedure. Has the entire community assembled?
The entire community has assembled.
Is there harmony in the community?
Yes, there is harmony.
Is there anyone not able to be present who has asked to be represented? And have they declared themselves to have done their best to study and practice the mindfulness trainings?
Yes, Sister Dân Nội Nghiêm, Sister Dân Tự Nghiêm, and Clytie Kennedy, for Sangha service reasons, cannot be at the recitation today. They have asked me, Sister Dân Trăng Khánh Thiền, to represent them, and they have declared that they have done their best to study and practice the mindfulness trainings.
Yes, there is Brother Pháp Lạc, Brother Pháp Khôi for health reason, and Brother Trịnh Quang and Brother Pháp Kim for Sangha service reason cannot be at the recitation today, and they have asked me, Brother Đại Lực, to represent them. and send words that they have kept the precept.
Why has the community assembled today?
The community has assembled to recite the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing.
Noble community, please listen. Today, the 20th of March, year 2022, has been chosen as a day to recite the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing. The community has assembled at the appointed time and is ready to recite and to hear the 14 mindfulness trainings in an atmosphere of harmony. Thus, the recitation can proceed. Is its statement clear and complete? Today, we have been asked by the community to recite the 14 mindfulness trainings. We ask the whole community for spiritual support. Please listen. The 14 mindfulness trainings are the very essence of the Order of Interbeing. They are the torch lighting our path, the boat carrying us, the teacher guiding us. They allow us to touch the nature of interbeing in everything that is, and to see that our happiness is not separate from the happiness of others. Interbeing is not a theory, it is a reality that can be directly experienced by each of us at any moment in our daily lives. The 14 mindfulness trainings help us cultivate concentration and insights, which free us from fear and the illusion of a separate self. We ask the community to listen with a serene mind. Consider the mindfulness trainings as a clear mirror in which to look at ourselves. Say yes silently every time you see that during the past month you have made an effort to study, practice, and observe the mindfulness training read. Dear community, are you ready? These then are the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing. The first mindfulness training, openness. Aware of the suffering created by fanaticism and intolerance, we are determined not to be idolaters about and bound to any doctrine, theory, or ideology, even Buddhist ones. We are committed to seeing the Buddhist teachings as guiding means that help us develop our understanding and compassion. They are not doctrines to fight, kill, or die for. We understand that fanaticism in its many forms is a result of perceiving things in a dualistic and discriminative manner. We will train ourselves to look at everything with openness and the insight of interbeing in order to transform dogmatism and violence in ourselves and in the world. This is the first mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The second mindfulness training, non-attachment to views. Aware of the suffering created by attachment to views and wrong perceptions, we are determined to avoid being narrow-minded and bound to present views. We are committed to learning and practicing non-attachment to views and being open to others' experiences and insights in order to benefit from the collective wisdom. We are aware that the knowledge we presently possess is not changeless, absolute truth. Insight is revealed through the practice of compassionate listening, deep looking, and letting go of notions rather than through the accumulation of intellectual knowledge. Truth is found in life, and we will observe life within and around us in every moment, ready to learn throughout our lives. This is the second mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The third mindfulness training, freedom of thoughts. Aware of the suffering brought about when we impose our views on others. We are determined not to force others, even our children, by any means whatsoever, such as authority, threats, money, propaganda, or indoctrination, to adopt our views. We are committed to respecting the right of others to be different, to choose what to believe and how to decide. We will, however, learn to help others let go of and transform fanaticism and narrowness through loving speech and compassionate dialogue. This is the third mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past months?
The fourth mindfulness training, awareness of suffering. Aware that looking deeply at the nature of suffering can help us develop understanding and compassion. We are determined to come home to ourselves, to recognize, accept, embrace, and listen to suffering with the energy of mindfulness. We will do our best not to run away from our suffering or cover it up through consumption, but practice conscious breathing and walking to look deeply into the roots of our suffering. We know we can realize the path leading to the transformation of suffering only when we understand deeply the roots of suffering. Once we have understood our own suffering, we will be able to understand the suffering of others. We are committed to finding ways, including personal contact and using telephone, electronic, audio-visual, and other means, to be with those who suffer, so we can help them transform their suffering into compassion, peace, and joy. This is the fourth mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The fifth mindfulness training, compassionate, healthy living. Aware that true happiness is rooted in peace, solidity, freedom, and compassion. We are determined not to accumulate wealth while millions are hungry and dying, nor to take as the aim of our life fame, power, wealth, or sensual pleasure, which can bring much suffering and despair. We will practice looking deeply into how we nourish our body and mind with edible foods, sense impressions, pollution, and consciousness. We are committed not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any other products which bring toxins into our own and the collective body and consciousness, such as certain websites, electronic games, music, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversations. We will consume in a way that preserves compassion, well-being, and joy in our bodies and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of our families, our society, and the earth. This is the fifth mindfulness training of the order of interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past months?
The sixth mindfulness training, taking care of anger. Aware that anger blocks communication and creates suffering. We are committed to taking care of the energy of anger when it arises and to recognize and transform the seeds of anger that lie deep in our consciousness. When anger manifests, we are determined not to do or say anything, but to practice mindful breathing or mindful walking, to acknowledge, embrace, and look deeply into our anger. We know that the roots of anger are not outside of ourselves, but can be found in our wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in ourselves and others. By contemplating impermanence, we will be able to look with the eyes of compassion at ourselves and at those we think are the cause of our anger, and to recognize the preciousness of our relationships. We will practice right diligence in order to nourish our capacity of understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, gradually transforming our anger, violence, and fear, and helping others to do the same. This is the sixth mindfulness training of the order of interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The seventh mindfulness training, dwelling happily in the present moment. Aware that life is available only in the present moment, we are committed to training ourselves to live deeply each moment of daily life. We will try not to lose ourselves in dispersion or to be carried away by regrets about the past, worries about the future, or craving, anger, or jealousy in the present. We will practice mindful breathing to be aware of what is happening in the here and the now. We are determined to learn the art of mindful living by touching the wondrous, refreshing, and healing elements that are inside and around us in all situations. In this way, we will be able to cultivate seeds of joy, peace, love, and understanding in ourselves, thus facilitating the work of transformation and healing in our consciousness. We are aware that real happiness depends primarily on our mental attitude and not on external conditions, and that we can live happily in the present moments simply by remembering that we already have more than enough conditions to be happy. This is the 7th mindfulness training of the order of interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past months?
The 8th Mindfulness Training, True Communication and Community. Aware that lack of communication always brings separation and suffering, we are committed to training ourselves in the practice of compassionate listening and loving speech, knowing that true community is rooted in inclusiveness and in the concrete practice of the harmony of views, thinking, and speech. We will practice to share our understanding and experiences with members in our community in order to arrive at a collective insight. We are determined to listen, to learn to listen deeply without judging or reacting, and refrain from uttering words that can create discord or cause the community to break. Whenever difficulties arise, we will remain in our Sangha and practice looking deeply into ourselves and others to recognize all the causes and conditions, including our own habit energies, that have brought about the difficulties. We will take responsibility for the ways we may have contributed to the conflict and keep communication open. We will not behave as a victim, but be active in finding ways to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. This is the 8th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The 9th mindfulness training, Truthful and Loving Speech. Aware that words can create happiness or suffering, we are committed to learning to speak truthfully, lovingly, and constructively. We will use only words that can inspire joy, confidence, and hope, as well as promote reconciliation and peace in ourselves and among other people. We will speak and listen in a way that can help ourselves and others to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. We are determined not to say untruthful things for the sake of personal interest or to impress people, nor to utter words that might cause division or hatred. We will protect the happiness and harmony of our Sangha by refraining from speaking about the faults of other persons in their absence, and always ask ourselves whether our perceptions are correct. We will speak only with the intention to understand and to help transform the situation. We will not spread rumors, nor criticize or condemn things of which we are not sure. We will do our best to speak out about situations of injustice, even when we're doing so may cause difficulties for us to or threaten our safety. This is the ninth mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing, and we made an effort to study, practice, and preserve it during the past months.
The 10th Mindfulness Training, Protecting and Nourishing the Sangha. Aware that the essence and aim of a Sangha is the realization of understanding and compassion, we are determined not to use the Buddhist community for personal power or profit, or transform our community into a political instrument. As members of a spiritual community, we should nonetheless take a clear stand against oppression and injustice. We should strive to change the situation without taking sides in a conflict. We are committed to learning to look with the eyes of interbeing and to see ourselves and others as cells in one Sangha body. As a true cell in the Sangha body, generating mindfulness, concentration, and insight to nourish ourselves and the whole community, each of us is at the same time a cell in the Buddha body. We will actively build brotherhood and sisterhood, flow as a river, and practice to develop the three real powers: understanding, love, and cutting through afflictions to realize collective awakening. This is the 10th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The 11th mindfulness training, right livelihood. Aware that great violence and injustice have been done to our environment and society, we are committed not to live with a vocation that is harmful to humans and nature. We will do our best to select a livelihood that contributes to the well-being of all species on Earth and helps realize our ideal of understanding and compassion. Aware of economic, political, and social realities around the world, as well as our interrelationship with the ecosystem, we are determined to behave responsibly as consumers and as citizens. We will not invest in or purchase from companies that contribute to the depletion of natural resources, harm the earth, or deprive others of their chance to live. This is the 11th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
12th Mindfulness Training, Reverence for Life. Aware that much suffering is caused by war and conflict, we are determined to cultivate nonviolence, compassion, and the insight of interbeing in our daily lives and promote peace, education, mindful mediation, and reconciliation within families, communities, ethnic and religious groups, nations, and in the world. We are committed not to kill and not to let others kill. We will not support any act of killing in the world, in our thinking, or in our way of life. We will diligently practice deep looking with our Sangha to discover better ways to protect life, prevent war, and build peace. This is the 12th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The 13th Mindfulness Training, Generosity. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, we are committed to cultivating generosity in our way of thinking, speaking, and acting. We will practice loving kindness by working for the happiness of people, animals, plants, and minerals, and sharing our time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. We are determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. We will respect the property of others, but we will try to prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other beings. This is the 13th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
The 14th Mindfulness Training, True Love, for lay members. Aware that sexual desire is not love, and that sexual relationships motivated by craving cannot dissipate the feeling of loneliness, but will create more suffering, frustration, and isolation. We are determined not to engage in sexual relations without mutual understanding, love, and a deep long-term commitment made known to our family and friends. Seeing that body and mind are one, we are committed to learning appropriate ways to take care of our sexual energy and to cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness for our own happiness and the happiness of others. We must be aware of future suffering that may be caused by sexual relations. We know that to preserve the happiness of ourselves and others, we must respect the rights and commitments of ourselves and others. We will do everything in our power to protect children from sexual abuse and to protect couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. We will treat our bodies with compassion and respect. We are determined to look deeply into the four nutriments and learn ways to preserve and channel our vital energies, sexual, breath, spirit, for the realization of our bodhisattva ideal. We will be fully aware of the responsibility of bringing new lives into the world and will regularly meditate upon their future environment. For monastic members, aware that the deep aspiration of a monastic can only be realized when we wholly leave behind the bonds of sensual love, we are committed to practicing chastity and to helping others protect themselves. We are aware that loneliness and suffering cannot be alleviated through a sexual relationship, but through practicing loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness. We know that a sexual relationship will destroy our monastic life, will prevent us from realizing our ideal of serving living beings, and will harm others. We will learn appropriate ways to take care of our sexual energy. We are determined not to suppress or mistreat our body, or look upon our body as only an instrument, but will learn to handle our body with compassion and respect. We will look deeply into the four nutriments in order to preserve and channel our vital energies, sexual, breath, spirit, for the realization of our bodhisattva ideal. This is the 14th mindfulness training of the Order of Interbeing. Have we made an effort to study, practice, and observe it during the past month?
Dear community, we have decided the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing. As the community has wished, we thank the community for happiness to do it silently. So right now we can join our palms to recite the closing verse.
Reciting the trainings, practicing the